Alrighty. That there is my Poulan Wild thing. And this entire thing is kind of my it's kind of my beat up saw. I use this when I don't want to like wreck a good saw. It runs all right. Chain on here is totally toast. But I'm gonna see if I can't sharpen it anyway. Alrighty. Who's ready to freak out over my technique sharpening this chain? I'll tell you, some people get really worked up about stuff that somebody else is doing, you know? So in my other videos using the sharpener, especially the first one, I sharpened a chain that was otherwise a piece of crap anyways. And even though I did a lot of things wrong with my adjustments and everything, it's still the best chain I've ever sharpened in my life, and I still have it on my Black & Decker saw, and I'm still using it right now, and it's still sharp. Even though people whine and complain that I did it wrong, and that I ruined a chain that I own. It's my chain to ruin, so... Anyway, so my GoPro isn't the greatest for trying to film this, so I'm gonna do my best. It doesn't zoom in or focus very well, but so get this thing plugged in on my cool little power strip here. Okay, and like I said in my other videos, there's a million adjustments you can do here, and what people kind of don't understand, or they don't think about it, if you hand sharpen a chain yourself, say you've hand sharpened, you buy a chain brand new, you hand sharpen it, say 5 or 10 times, whatever. And you're like me, where when you hand sharpen, you're not that good. So you get every tooth at a different degree. So you might try for 30 or try for 25, whatever, and you think that's the degree you're doing, but you actually end up filing it off at the wrong degree. So every tooth is different, right? So then, if you have this set at the same degree, whatever, and you're going through and you're doing all the same, all the same directioned teeth, since they're both, they're all staggered. So I go through, do one direction of tooth first, and then I switch this over and do the other direction next. But anyway, if you leave your settings on this, you get it adjusted where you want it, and you just keep going through the chain. On some of these teeth, you're going to take, if they're all different degrees, because you're like me and you suck at hand sharpening, they're all going to be different. So you either have to hand adjust this for every single tooth. See, people complain about me taking too much material off. That's going to happen. If they're all different, cut at different degrees, and you have this set at one single setting, some of these you're going to barely take any material off, and other ones you're going to take a ton. That's just the way it is. And people freak out about it. I mean, what do you want me to do? Like, fine tune every single tooth and change this? That's a lot of screwing around. My time is far more valuable than doing that. So this is just a cheap chain from Oregon or Forester or whoever I bought this from at Menards. So chain, whatever. This thing is more or less like a relaxation thing for me, to just run some of my used chains through it and see if I can't get them, you know, to be halfway sharp again. So people that freak out about sharpening, relax. Anyway, let's see where we're even at here. See how close I am. Yeah, way off there. Oh yeah, it's because the last time I used this, I was doing Rakers. That's why. That's funny. Now I'm sure you can't see this because My GoPro is not the camera for filming things up close. A lot of adjustments to do with this thing. Now you can't see this, so you're just gonna have to trust me. Somebody said something about my grinding disc going too far into the chain, I think is what they said, but no one watching this video is really going to know except for me. I'm the only one who can see where it's at, and I'll tell you right now, it's not going into the chain. It's exactly where it's supposed to be, so people need to chill out. Okay, so right now my height is perfect. I really don't know how to show you that, but I can slam this thing down. It's not going into any of the links. It's exactly as far down as it should be going on these teeth. So that's fine. We're good there. Now, here's what we can try. Here's what I'll try. I'll try taking the minimum amount of material off just to see if I can. This is barely touching. I mean, barely. You almost have to remember too that this thing was made in China, so it's not a metal turning lathe. So don't get upset when you can't go a few thousandths of an inch. All right, we're gonna try that. Another thing too, like I said, I have 2 videos so far on this Forester. In my last one, my second video, I talked about how, since these are cheap, like when you try to turn these knobs, or if you try to tighten these down, like they'll both turn when they shouldn't be. So you have to do it two-handed. Make sure I'm where I need to be again. So you kind of got to do it two-handed. You got to hold one because I don't want this turning. I only want this turning, which helps secure it. Even though this is securing this chain, I still want to secure it with this. I don't want this movement back and forth to move at all. I want it to stay the same. That way I can go through this whole chain. Okay. This should barely take anything off. I'm pushing down on this as hard as I can. It is not touching the link, and it's not going farther down past where it should be on that tube. I think some people don't even watch videos, they just comment. They don't even like know what they just watched or what they didn't even try to watch. Because I said the same thing I just said now in my last video on this thing, and people still freak out about it. It's pretty sharp. Barely took any material off of there. So if I move on to the next one, in theory it should be the same, should take off the same amount of material, but like I said, if you sharpen these wrong for long enough, they're all going to be off. So some might take more material off than others. So we'll go to the next tooth. That one's pretty close. Barely did anything. Yeah, see, that didn't do enough. Alright. See, this is where you have to decide, like, how much time do you really want to spend adjusting this for every single tooth? This is supposed to be fast. Wow. It's amazing how plastic doesn't really hold its tolerances that well. All right. We're quite a few minutes into this already. This is like the second tooth, or the third tooth, or whatever. See what a waste of time that is? Decently sharp. See, these are all going to be different probably. See, I believe in science. I think about things scientifically. So you have variables really with everything. So if you're looking for a result and you're not getting it, or you want to get that result, you gotta look at what changes the outcome. So, okay, this thing was cheap. This was actually one of the more expensive saw sharpeners like this. This was $60 from Forester. Harbor Freight has the Chicago Electric one that's like $30, or even goes on sale for like $20, $25, which somebody commented and said that they're trash anyway. So, even though this one's a little nicer, it's still cheap. It still has plastic components on it, blah, blah, blah. I mean, this thing is not going to have tight tolerances on it. So when people kind of expect this to be pro and everything, that's not how it's going to be at all. Wow. Okay. But there's a lot of variables here. And honestly, if you had some kind of way to, you know, measure the angle on every one of these teeth and then wrote them down on a piece of paper. Say you have X amount of teeth, right? And all those numbers were different, you know? Like 25, 26, 27 degrees, 28 degrees, 29 degrees, whatever. When you sharpen that at one fixed degree, you're going to remove more material than the others. That's how it works. And people freak out about that. They're like, you're taking too much material off. I know. That's because this chain is already messed up, dude. I'm just glad that with this thing, it does the work. That's pretty much why I bought this, was so then it would be more accurate and faster than me doing it by hand. So even if I, you know, cut too much material off of some of these teeth and I only get to use this chain 1 or 2 more times, you know, before having to get rid of it or whatever, I don't care. If I pay $15 for a chain and I get to use it 10 different times, you know, say an hour of cutting each time, give me a break. It's $1 an hour. That's cheap. I don't know why people freak about that crap so much. I'm not from like the West Coast where there's trees everywhere and everybody's a pro and everybody's pro at that stuff. I'm from the Great Plains. We don't have a lot of trees. Pretty sharp. It's better than I could get it with a hand file. And I apologize if this isn't gonna adjust very good, so you probably really can't see what's going on here, but I'm just trying to get my point across that these sharpeners have their own faults. You know, they're not perfect. So you kind of just got to be happy with what you got. This one looks like it might take a decent amount of material off. Sharp. So this thing right here locks in the chain pretty well, and I believe you can adjust that too. You can take an Allen and you can adjust these so then it kind of controls how much this thing cinches down. You can also do it by adjusting this, or maybe you only do it by adjusting this, I don't know, but there's adjustments here so then you can adjust how tight it clamps down on this chain. This chain's not going anywhere right now, so to me it's fine. If it were loose enough that if I really put pressure on it and I could still get this chain to move, then that would be too loose. But right now I feel like it's plenty tight. Do that, and it's incredibly loose. And that's funny because, you know, it's amazing how much you can move this chain around. I mean, barely at all. I mean, that's just how loosey-goose this whole system is. Obviously, you got to tighten this down before you make your cut. But I'm just saying, it's like even the smallest move and you can throw your whole cut off kilter. So it's not a perfect system, but it's a lot more enjoyable than some other ways of doing it. Yeah, see, that's close. That's not it. See, that's, whew, it's gonna be close. Okay, you did not see that, but I did. This tooth actually was not perfectly straight. It was kind of concave. And it literally took material off of each side, but not in the middle, because it was that, you know, and I don't know if that's from just like cutting wood, like general wear and tear, or if it's from however I filed this last time. I don't know. It's wicked sharp though, I'll tell you that. Anyway, I'm not going to do this on every tooth. I think you guys get my point. I'm going to run through this and do the best to my abilities, and I'm going to be happy with it because that's how I roll. But if this turns out any way my other chains have, then I'll be happy with how sharp it is. So I guarantee you, when I'm done with this chain and I put it back on that wild thing, this will have been the sharpest chain that I sharpened to ever be on that saw. And I've sharpened a lot of other chains and put them on that saw myself, but I did that by hand or with my electric sharpener that does not have a fixed angle. You're free floating. It's all up to the operator. And I'm sure I've messed every chain up that's ever been on that saw. And this is probably going to be the first one that has consistent angles and consistently sharp teeth. So all right, it was going really good. I got the rest of the other with the other teeth at the angle that they were at. So now I'm moving on to the other ones. Okay, Like I said, my GoPro doesn't really adjust, but look at this tooth right here. Maybe can you see it now better, maybe? Look at the angle that thing's at. That's what you get when you're like me and you suck at sharpening by hand. And you don't have a jig or, you know, anything like this that helps you maintain. So that's way off. And I don't know if you can see that or not, but this thing is completely gonna get reshaped. So I can do it a little bit at a time, or I can kind of dig into it and take a lot of material off at once. You're not gonna really be able to see it anyway, but this is crazy. I'll just do it slowly, see what happens. Okay, barely did anything there. Okay. Ooh. Just a little bit more. Okay. That is so much better. That is so sharp. Awesome. Hopefully not all of these are screwed up like that. But see, that's like I've said 500 times already, that's what happens. You get all the teeth messed up, and then you kind of have to mess them up to get them back the same, and then your chain really doesn't have much life left in it. It's kind of just the way it is. If you buy a brand new chain and use this every time, I bet you it'd last a long time, because you would never screw up the angles, so you'd pretty much take the same amount of material off each time. I'm just leaving that. Kind of sick of messing with it. Sorry you can't see what's going on here. I'm a terrible filmer. Now it's taking material off. Nice. Very nice. If you want to talk about stupid, stupid is the amount of chains that I've gotten rid of instead of sharpening them. When I was younger, I used to just, once it got dull, I threw it out. I didn't even give an attempt to sharpening it. That was a waste of money. This is not a waste of money. At least I'm trying. Okay. Tell you one thing, I have my up and down angle, or the stop on here, where it stops this blade. I have it perfect. I'm not touching any of these links, and I'm stopping right where you're supposed to on the bottom of that tooth. And I'm not going past it, and this is not loosening itself at all. So that's surprising. I mean, that's doing its job. If this were loosening itself and I kept going, and then I started cutting into these links, that would be a problem. But I'm not having that problem, which is kind of cool. Here's another one that's super messed up. Totally wrong angle. When these teeth are the wrong angle and then you have to take a bunch of material off of it to sharpen it and get it back to where it's supposed to be, it's the equivalent of a doctor breaking your leg again, so then they can redo your, you know, cast or whatever so it heals properly. This is kind of the same thing. Got to cause more damage to get it right, you know? Oh yeah, this is so bad. That is way off. Oh, what was I thinking? Oh, now it looks great. I've spent an incredible amount of money in my lifetime. An amount that's probably sickening because a lot of that stuff that I spent my money on was dumb. But this is one of those things where I'm very happy I bought it. I have no regret at all. It's helpful, you know? It's a tool. I never feel bad buying tools. I'm sure there's guys out there that have the perfect technique down for hand filing and, you know, they're a wizard at it or whatever. And you might think, well, why don't you learn to do that instead of just using this fixed angle machine? Well, I don't want to learn to do that. I don't live in a place with enough trees to even, like, care. Why hone a skill that you're not really going to get to use much, you know? I would rather use something like this that helps me do a better job because I'm not good at it, you know? That's why they make this stuff and people buy it. It's supposed to help people, you know? If you don't have any skill, you need more gear. If you have lots of skill, you need less gear. It's just kind of how it is. One thing that I keep messing up though when I'm sharpening with this thing is I never mark like the teeth that I start with. And you kind of don't need to, because as soon as you get around to a tooth that has, you know, this doesn't hit the tooth anymore, then you know you've made a full circle and that you're back at the beginning. But still, it wouldn't be a bad idea to like throw a little mark on one of these, like with a permanent marker or something. I got black, and then I have a whole bunch of, I have yellow, red, green. If she don't find you handsome, she should at least find you handy. Keep your stick on the ice. If I had to change anything about this, I would put a button down here so you can just on, off, on, off, on, off, blah, 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 instead of having to look over it and find the, you know. Oh, just a little bit more. That was a bad one too. Now it's straight. Now there's no curve in that. It's a straight tooth that's sharp. Nice. I've got to be getting towards the end here. Okay, this tooth is way off again. It's just crazy. I'm telling you, it's... I know you can't see. I wish you could. I need a better setup here. And I need to get a camera that actually focuses instead of using action cameras for all my videos. It's amazing how quickly it corrects that angle. I need to do this one more time. I'm doing tiny adjustments. Right on the money. I'm doing really tiny. Just see what happens, you know? It takes more time, but... Now if I take this chain, go out, use it, and then come back and do the same thing, 30 degrees on each set of teeth, it should be a lot more uniform and even than it was today. I've got to be getting close to the... That was a bad adjustment. That was too far. See what I mean? This plastic stuff, like, don't expect it to be... It's not a machining thing, you know? It's like... It's made in China, dude. That's better. Very nice. Yeah, this one's messed up. Not as bad as the other ones, though. Okay, that one I did take a little bit more material off than I needed to, but it's crazy how sharp these get. It's kind of spooky, really. So you gotta be careful with chainsaws. All right, this is what I was talking about. See that? It's locked in. Same spot I've been doing this whole time. Just clears the tooth. I mean, so now I know I've made a full circle. So what that means is I sharpen this whole chain. So I guess I didn't even really look at the Rakers much. But I can tell just by looking at them that they're fine. They don't need to be filed yet. what I don't think I included in any of my other videos is that I do have a little file for doing rakers. And I just set it right behind the machine. So then if I feel like it, I can, while it's in there, clamped in there, I can take a little bit of material off the rakers if need be. And in my last video, I actually talked and showed about how you can use this to do the rakers, actually, which is amazing. It's just kind of goofy, but, and if you're good at it and you set your depth right, you can hold this thing down doing the rakers and actually adjust this on the fly and then grind the whole length of the raker. It's kind of funny. I haven't really tried it yet, but I should, because that's a sweet way to do all your rakers, is just to run them through with two hands, just boom, 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 boom. But anyway, this looks pretty good. So all you chainsaw chain please can relax a little bit. I don't know how old this chain is, honestly, but I bet you I've more than gotten my use out of it, my money's worth. So in fact, I'm surprised I even got it this sharp because I'm really hard on this saw. This needs to be cleaned out. I'm gonna clean all this out before I put this thing back on, but this video is not gonna end without me firing this bad boy up, trying it out. I just wanted to show real quick that when I clean up a saw, I always take the bar, and you ever see these little pick sets? I know they have them at Harbor Freight for like $1 or $2, next to nothing. Usually they come in like a pack of 3 or 4. So you got like a 90 and a, you know, whatever, and then a 45. But anyway, I've always had picks as a part of my tool set. They're great for a lot of things, but I find that they're great for cleaning out the bars. And if you have compressed air, you can also use compressed air to get the rest out after using this pick. You could always sharpen one of these too, because I don't think this thing fully goes. Yeah, now it is, because I'm forcing it. There we go. See that? Get all that crap out of there. These are sharp too. If you come back at yourself, you're gonna get poked. Yep, just a little tip for you. Yeah, look at that. I guess it doesn't really matter. You're gonna get it dirty anyway. It's just sometimes it's nice to get that cleaned out just so the chain has a nice track to be in or whatever. So, all right. Runs pretty good.